Hi, this presentation is about labor in fast fashion. This is presented by Adjoa, Aditi, Kitty, and Sophia. The new International Division of Labor, known as NIDL. To truly understand the labor crisis in fast fashion, we have to look at the structural shift that McCallum calls the New International Division of Labor, or NIDL. Prior to the 1970s, most clothing was produced in the same countries where it was sold. However, as McCallum outlines, a massive transition occurred where capital became highly mobile. Companies began fragmenting the production process. This means they kept the high value tasks like branding and design in wealthy Western nations while moving the labor intensive or dirty work of garment assembling to the global south. This wasn't just a change in geography, it was a strategy of regulatory arbitrage. By moving to countries with weaker labor laws and lower minimum wages, the industry created a system where they could avoid the cost of worker safety and fair pay. This historical move created the global commodity chain we see today, where the distance between the person buying the shirt and the person sewing it intentionally vast, making it easier for brands to ignore the condition on the factory floor. Modern unequal exchange. Fast forward to the present day, while the industry claims that global trade helps develop these nations, a groundbreaking 2024 study published to the journal Nature by Jason Heckel and his colleagues prove otherwise. They used the term unequal exchange to describe what is actually happening. Their research shows that wealthy nations are involved in a net appropriation of labor. What this means in a plain term is that global north effectively takes billions of hours of labor from the global south every year that are never fairly compensated. For every 1 hour of labor the west provides to the global market in the form of high-tech goods or services, it receives many more hours of labor back in the form of cheap consumer goods like fast fashion. Haeckel argues that this isn't just a glitch in the system, but it is a foundation of the system. The low prices we enjoy at retailers are only possible because of this massive invisible transfer of value. This study provides the significant evidence that fast fashion is a parasite relationship. The wealth and low prices in our economy are directly subsidized by the underpaid, over-distracted labor of millions of workers in the global south.
After learning about the new international division of labor and the unequal exchange, we can now look at a real example of human consequences of fast fashion. The Rana Plaza collapse occurred on April 24, 2013 in Savannah, Bangladesh. The building contained five garment factories producing clothing for global fashion brands. The day before the collapse, workers noticed a large cracks in structure. Engineers warned that building was unsafe. Although shops and banks inside the building closed immediately, many garment workers were instructed to return to work the next morning. Only a few hours later, the eight-story building collapsed. According to BBC News, 1,134 workers lost their lives, and more than 2,500 were injured. The disaster became one of the deadliest industrial accidents in modern history. For many people, Rana Plaza revealed the hidden human cost behind the low prices and rapid production that characterize the fast fashion industry. The Rana Plaza collapse was not simply the result of a building failure. Investigations showed that several warning signs were ignored before the disaster occurred. On April 23, 2013, large cracks appeared throughout the building. Engineers declared the structure unsafe, and the businesses such as banks and shops immediately closed. However, the garment factory workers were instructed to return to work the next day. Many workers were afraid to refuse because they depended on their wages to support their families. This highlights the unique power relationship between workers and factory management. The disaster also reflects broader pressures within the fast fashion industry. Global brands compete to produce clothing quickly and at very low prices. As a result, factory owners also face pressure to reduce costs and maximize production. The Rana Plaza case demonstrates how weak safety regulations, economic dependence, and the demand for cheap clothing can combine to create dangerous working conditions. More than 10 years after Rana Plaza collapse, some important improvements have been made. In response to international pressure, the Bangladesh Accord on Fire and Building Safety was introduced. Thousands of factories were inspected, and many buildings underwent safety upgrades. These changes have been reduced some workplace risks. However, significant challenges remain. According to the Clean Clothes Champion, many garment workers still earn very low wages and work long hours. Some survivors of the collapse continue to face physical injuries, trauma, and financial hardship. The documentary The True Cost argues that these problems are not isolated incidents but are connected to the business model of fast fashion itself. Low prices are often achieved through low labor costs and weak worker protections. The Rona Plaza disaster serves as a reminder that behind every inexpensive garment is a worker whose labor makes that product possible. This leads to an important question for all of us as consumers. Who really pays the price for cheap fashion? Now, let my partners state the next part.
Building from the Rana Plaza case study and the ongoing labor cost concerns we just discussed, my section connects fast fashion to our course theme, cultural trash. In this course, trash is not only the physical waste, it can also mean what society uses, hides, rejects, or treats as disposable. Fast fashion clearly creates clothing waste, but it also creates a hidden human cost. The workers' times, bodies, and safeties are used to produce cheap clothing, but their suffering is pushed out of sight. Consumers usually see the final product, the trend, the brand, and the low price. What we do not see is the labor behind it: long hours, unsafe conditions, low wages, and the pressure to produce quickly. This connects to the idea of repression in our course title, Waste Access and Repression. The access is the constant production and overconsumption of the clothes. The repression is the way the human cost is hidden from the consumer. So, in the fast fashion, garment workers become part of the cultural trash of the system because their labor is necessary, but their humanity is ignored. The second course connection is Elizabeth Barrett Browning's poem, A Musical Instrument. In the poem, Pan creates beautiful music, but he does it by damaging the reed. The reed is taken from nature, cut, emptied, and permanently changed. This rule is sweet music, but the violence behind that music is hidden. This is a strong comparison to the fast fashion. Clothes can look beautiful, stylish, and affordable, but the process behind them can involve harm. The consumer experiences the beauty of the final product just like people hear Pan's music, but the damage that made it possible is not always visible. In the poem, the reed loses its original life so that Pan can create something useful and beautiful from it. In the fast fashion, workers can also lose safety, time, health, and dignity so companies can create clothing quickly and cheaply. This does not mean fashion itself is bad, but it shows that beauty becomes ethically complicated when it depends on hidden suffering. So, Brownings helps us ask an important question. When something beautiful is produced through damage, who benefits and who pays the cost? My final course connection is to Walt Whitman and Elizabeth Bishop. Whitman's poetry values the human body and the shared humanity. In I Sing the Body Electric, the body is not treated like a machine or an object. It has dignity, energy, and the spiritual value. This challenges the way fast fashion treats workers as if they are only part of the production. Bishop adds another important perspective. In our course material, Bishop is described as a writer who pays attention to the other, including the poor, outsiders, foreign cultures, and the people who are usually ignored. This connects directly to the garment workers because they are often far away from the Western consumers and are treated as invisible within the supply chain. Together, Whitman and Bishop helps us look beyond the surface. Whitman reminds us that the worker's body has value, and the Bishop reminds us to notice the people society pushes aside. This is why the center message of this slide is important. Garment workers are not disposable. So, overall, the fast fashion is not only an economic issue, it is cultural and ethical issue. It shows how modern society can create beauty, profit, and convenience while hiding the human damage behind it. This leads us into the next section where we can think about solutions and what needs to be changed.
My previous members showed us how we got here and why the system is designed the way it is. So the question now is what can actually change it? And the answer is a lot is already moving. So, what are the solutions in motion? Firstly, the Fabric Act. The Fabric Act is a proposed federal legislation in the United States designed to overhaul the garment industry and was reintroduced in the Senate in 2023. It aims to eliminate wage theft, mandate minimum hourly wages, and also provide tax incentives to bring apparel manufacturing back to the US. It would end piece rate pay, the system where workers are paid per garment sewn, often resulting in less than $3 an hour. It makes brands legally accountable for wage violation in their supply chains, not just direct contractors, but also subcontractors too. Next is the California Garment Worker Protection. The California Garment Worker Protection Act, enacted into law in 2021 and effective since January 1st, 2022. Workers in California garment factories previously earned as little as $3 to $4 per hour under the piece rate system. The law prohibits the piece rate system, requiring that garment workers be paid at least the applicable state hourly minimum wage. The law holds fashion brands accountable, not just the factories, but also the retailer who commissioned the work. Next is the Bangladesh workers' strike. In October 2023, 4 million garment workers in Bangladesh went on strike. Over 600 factories shut down. Workers were earning about $75 per month. They demanded approximately $209 per month, which they were offered $113 per month. The workers rejected it. The police were deployed and there was a clash, showing how seriously the government viewed the disruption. These workers, most of them being women, risked their lives, their livelihood, and their safety to demand basic dignity. This, I would say, is courage. And lastly, the consumer action. Consumer boycotts get a lot of attention, but research also shows that they work best when combined with systemic pressure. Fast fashion brands are very sensitive to reputation, and that is a level we can all pull. But boycotting alone can harm workers in developing countries if factories lose contracts without replacement income. No one's matters here. More powerful approach would be supporting transparency legislation, following certified ethical labels like Fair Trade and B Corp, and asking who made this and what were they being paid. We open today by asking you to think about who made your clothes, and we end with the same question because it still hasn't been answered for most of us. 40 million people work in the global garment industry, most of them which are women. Many earn less in a week than what we spend on a single item of clothing. And the supply chain, the subcontracting layers, the trade agreements, the piece rate pay are all made so that we never have to think about them. That design is a choice, and the choice can be unmade. So the next time you reach for something on a rack or click add to cart at 3 a.m., we are not asking you to stop buying clothes. We are asking you to carry the questions with you. Who made this? What did it cost them? And what am I willing to do about that? Thank you.